German company Bayer bought US seed maker Monsanto for $63 billion in 2018. It inherited billions of dollars worth of lawsuits from farmers who claimed its weed killer Roundup had caused their cancer.
So the companies are merging that are directly known to cause the disease with a medical company that has a treatment for the disease.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation made a significant investment in Monsanto. They purchased 500,000 shares of Monsanto stock, which was valued at approximately $23.1 million. The foundation aims to help Africa achieve its own green revolution.
So your grandmother, 86, in the village, cannot plant her cassava. So when we say they are literally criminalizing agriculture, that's what we mean. So like if you do agriculture the normal way we did it, it's actually a criminal offense.
This effort includes investing in genetically modified crops, such as GMO rice, to improve crop yields and resilience.
It's about patents. So whoever controls the seed owns it. And eventually, if that seed gets to us, they also control us.
You could have a case where the initial research is done by a Gates-funded institution. The media reporting on how well that research is conducted is a Gates-funded journalist from a media program, and then the program is implemented more widely by a Gates-funded NGO.
There is a reason why Ibrahim Traoré is always trying to push self-sufficiency for African nations. It is not just about controlling the profits of the produce and resources that a country makes. It's also to prevent the meddling, the interfering, and the predatory tactics of those who wish to find their own ways to profit off the stuff that an African country produces. Someone that is front and center of this type of meddling is Bill Gates. Through the company Monsanto, which is now Bayer, that his foundation owns a significant portion of shares in, they do all kinds of meddling that negatively affects the African continent under the guise of food safety and security. If you want to understand how dark and negative this is for the continent of Africa, stay tuned. For those of you that don't know me, my name is TJ. I am Nigerian and British mixed. A couple of years ago, I moved to Uganda to start a new life with my partner Medina. And I started this channel to talk about my experience. However, my channel has evolved because every day I'm confronted with issues surrounding the relationship between Africa and the rest of the world, particularly the West. I believe if Africa reaches its full potential, it will be better not just for Africa, but for the globe entirely, which in this case has brought me to the one and only Bill Gates. Bill Gates, of course, is a billionaire. He made his money through Microsoft. He's now turned his sights on vaccines and on agriculture. Through one way or another, he owns massive land in America and increasingly land in Africa through the Bill and Melinda Foundation. Now, he will tell you it's all because he wants to end hunger and disease in the world, and he wants to use his money for positive things. Unfortunately, there are too many questions and anomalies and dark corners that are being uncovered about all these different pies that he's got his fingers in.
Cows and other grass-eating species have a digestion system that emits methane. And methane is a very powerful greenhouse gas. And so cows alone account for about 6% of global emissions. And so we need to change cows, just cows alone.
How are we going to do that?
Well, actually, of all the categories, the one that has gone better than I would have expected 5 years ago is this work to make what's called artificial meat. And so you have people like Impossible or Beyond Meat, both of which I invested in.
Do you eat it as well, or do you like it?
Absolutely.
You do.
You can go to Burger King and buy the Impossible Burger.
All right. Is it healthier for you or just healthier for the atmosphere?
It's slightly healthier for you in terms of less cholesterol. It's, of course, dramatic reduction in methane emissions, animal cruelty, manure management, and the pressure that meat consumption puts on land use.
So right there, he's talking these horrible cows that we've had for millions of years, these horrible cows that produce 6% of methane in the world, we need to stop eating them. Now, one argument is that we've industrialized the cattle industry and this has produced unprecedented amounts of methane. But he said it's worth 6% of the global methane production. The first question I would ask is, what is the 94%? Well, the 94% comes from a range of other things, such as all of the fossil fuel industry that we use. So what is the incentive to talk about cows and cattle and methane? Well, he mentioned the first thing, which is he wants us to eat the more healthier versions of meat substitutes. And he said here that he invested in some of these companies that produce this vegan meat-like produce that is slightly healthier for you. Here's something that I've copied and pasted from Perplexity, the AI tool. You can go and do your own research if you want to verify any of this. But let's look at these meats, these artificial meats that he's saying are healthier. Meat replacements like Beyond Burger and Impossible Burger often contain a variety of additives, including emulsifiers and other chemicals, to mimic the texture, flavor, and appearance of real meat. Emulsifiers such as poly, whatever that is, 80 and carbolar cellulose. You know, whenever you look at a packet and you see those long words that you can't pronounce, you know that there's something wrong with the food. Are used to stabilize a mixture of ingredients and improve texture. However, studies suggest they may disrupt the gut microbiome, leading to inflammation and increased risk of conditions like inflammatory bowel disease, obesity, and cardiovascular issues. This meat that he's saying is more healthy. Soy hemoglobin. Found in Impossible Burgers, soy hemoglobin is genetically engineered compound, and we're going to hear a lot about GMO foods, GMO meddling later in the video, that gives plant-based meat bloody appearance. While classified as generally recognized safe, GRAS, or the FDA, the animal studies have raised concerns about potential alterations in blood chemistry. How many of you out there are interested in altering your blood chemistry? For me, not really. Synthetic preservatives, additives like tertiary but hydroquine TBHQ, excuse my bad pronunciations, I'm terrible at reading words like that, are used to prevent discorrelation and have been linked to health concerns such as cancer in animal studies. Artificial colors and flavors. Ingredients like erythrocin are used for visual appeal but have been associated with cancer risk in high doses. Again, cancer risk is not something I'm interested in my food, thank you. Compounds like magnesium carbonate used for color retention and propylene glycol, a moisturizer, are also present in some products. While generally regarded as safe in small amounts, the industrial use raises concerns for consumers, and they round up here with the health concerns. Many of these additives are considered safe by regulatory bodies like the FDA when consumed in moderation. However, emerging results suggest that long-term and high-level consumption of certain emulsifiers and synthetic additives could negatively impact gut health, inflammation levels, and overall well-being. So I don't think it is healthier. And one of the companies that he owns shares in, Bayer-Monsanto, they push things like vaccinations for animals, RNA vaccinations. Where have we heard that before? So Bill Gates comes to Africa. He says, you have a problem with food and hunger. I'm here to save you so that everyone can be fed, not be hungry anymore. Just use my methods.
What they are doing on the animals, they are actually poisoning our food. mRNA doesn't die. It will go to the skin, it goes to the milk, it goes to the meat. So essentially when they vaccinate animals, they mess the meat we consume, they mess the milk. You can imagine all the milk we consume every single day will be mRNA infested. That's what they're doing. When I have an opportunity, I tell people, anything for free, anything you get for free from these governments, avoid. We are not anti-vaxxers, Brian. We are not anti-government. No, we are critical thinkers.
So what you've got to realize is that through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they work with NGOs that go into African countries and push these types of vaccinations. Then the pressure is really applied for change in the favor of people like Bill Gates, because the government now pushes initiatives. One of the things that is also in those artificial burgers and is actually the cheapest form of oil that I see throughout Africa, and it's also in the West, is the production of seed oils.
In the body, we can create an environment that's very hospitable for cancer. we can create an environment that's very inhospitable to cancer. So let's talk about a biome that is inhospitable to cancer. It's not really inviting cancer. So we can talk about removing the unnecessary assault on our cellular biology. So things like pesticides, herbicides, glyphosates, insecticides, preservatives. So eating whole foods in their natural format, avoiding things like seed oils. And if you still don't believe the research on seed oils, Paul Saladino just did a great short documentary on it. What we do is we take these canola plants or rapeseed plants, we put them in a commercial press, and the oil comes out very gummy. So we degum it with something called hexane, which is a neurotoxin. Then we take that neurotoxic degummed oil and we heat it to 405 degrees and we turn it rancid. Okay, so now you have a putrefied, rancid oil. So then we have to deodorize it. So we deodorize it with sodium hydroxide, which is a known carcinogen. And then we, in some cases, will even bleach it, then bottle it, then put it on the shelf. So sometimes it's not even the food, it's the distance from the food to the table. So if you're listening to this, I would make today the day you get seed oils completely out of your diet.
So they have these synthetic things that they produce and they put them on the crops, and then they mass produce these things, and they do it in such a bastardized way that there's now evidence showing that it causes cancer. It is so dark. There's more than one way that these companies are linked to bringing cancer to us. Remember, it's always in the guise of helping humanity. We know about the tobacco industry that for years told us cigarettes are healthy, there's nothing wrong with cigarettes. But now we've turned the corner and we know that cigarettes cause all sorts of damage, including lung cancer, right? You can go down the list of companies that have bought media that promote a message that is harmful for the people, but is profitable for the companies. Let's see how that works for Bill and Melinda Gates.
The study from the pressure group Global Justice Now paints a picture of the Gates Foundation, partly as an expression of corporate America's desire to profit from Africa, and partly a damning critique of its effects.
You could have a case where the initial research is done by a Gates-funded institution. The media reporting on how well that research is conducted is done. The media outlet is a Gates-funded outlet and maybe a Gates-funded journalist from a media program, and then the program is implemented more widely by a Gates-funded NGO. I mean, there are some very insular circles here.
So do they have our best interests at heart? You know, all Bill Gates has to do is turn up with a nice smile to some leader of some country or some panel. He shakes the hand, he smiles, he looks so disarming. I'm the benevolent billionaire that's here to save you. I'm going to put out all of this media and research. I remember hearing about some study that said that milk chocolate was not bad for you. And in very small quantities, it's probably not that bad. But the research was done by a chocolate company. And then that was promoted and put forward. And they fund how these things go out. You know, influencers are not just people on YouTube channels and Instagram selling you, you know, a slimming drink. They are part of the big machine, the big newspapers, the big radio stations, the things that people of my parents' generation believed in wholeheartedly, that these guys are promoting the truth and journalism is true and honest. But I believe that a lot of this journalism is bought and paid for.
And if you look at what Monsanto makes, which is Roundup, which is the most widely used pesticide in America, the cancer that it causes is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. They've paid out $11 billion in the past couple of years for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cases. So the companies are merging that are directly known to cause the disease with a medical company that has a treatment for the disease. Like, this is very, very dark.
So Bayer is over here, Monsanto is over here. Bayer makes these products like Roundup that they push onto the agriculture industry. And there is a link between that product and cancer. Then they merge with Monsanto and that company has the cure. So now there's a conflict of interest within the same company, and those that own shares in those companies profit from that. On top of that, Monsanto is big on patents. Seed patents. You can just look across Africa and find all of these countries that have debts to the IMF. These debts are considered predatory by anyone's standard. When a country defaults or they say they're struggling to pay these debts, they repackage the loan. And they don't just do it all with finance repackaging. What they do is they bring in Monsanto and they say, right, you've got to follow the standards by which Monsanto set in your country. So then the leaders are beholden to these systems that cause all of these issues that we're talking about. So you can't just take your crops and grow your natural seeds. No, the country influences and then sometimes legislates so that it becomes illegal for you to use those seeds. You must use the patented ones. In some cases, not all, but in some cases, these seeds produce yields that themselves have seeds that are invalid. So you have to keep going back to buy the seeds from Monsanto.
For me, the problem I have with GMO is the erosion of the sovereignty of the people, especially when it comes to food and seed.
So just to be clear, GMOs are primarily what Monsanto pushes.
I wouldn't say there's anything good about GMOs because one, GMOs take away our sovereignty as a people, and especially small-scale farmers. GMO is about influencing or controlling what we eat. So somebody somewhere is sitting in a laboratory coming up with a maize variety and telling Africans that, you know, I want you to consume this kind of maize variety. So what happens to us as a people? Like, do we have a choice to make in terms of, no, I don't want to eat this, or I would like to consume this? What about the foods that we've always consumed? This is what we want to eat. This is what we want you to eat. The second reason why I am not for GMOs is about patents. So whoever controls the seed owns it. And eventually, if that seed gets to us, they also control us.
And the truth is, we've already started seeing this control being rolled out throughout Africa. You know, I used Perplexity to search what are seed patents for? Like, what are the benefits of this? Without asking it to, it created this two-sided table, which has corporate rationale. And I thought that was quite interesting in of itself, that AI took it upon itself to already embed the criticisms right there off the bat, just me asking about seed patents. So if we just go through this quickly, recoup R&D costs. You know, these companies have done all this research and they use the patents to make sure they can still profit from the research time they took to figure out these seeds. Incentivize innovation and climate resilient crops. They always attach something like climate change or some issue around a problem that the world perceives as a righteous cause, to make it seem like what they're doing is good. Prevent unauthorized replication of patented genetic traits. This one I have a big problem with. So the ecosystem of Africa over millions of years has produced something, a unique type of fruit or vegetable that we consume that nourishes our body. And now what we're going to do is go and take that food that was developed over millenniums in the soil and ecosystem of Africa, put it in a lab, and then say we now control the production of this so that the place where it came from cannot profit from it. They can profit from it, selling it back to that place and around the rest of the world. This is food colonialism. Ensure seed quality and performance through controlled distribution. Of course, the people that have been farming these seeds cannot possibly be trusted to take care of the seeds properly. We must control the distribution and the quality and the performance of these seeds. How insulting. Do you think people that have been living in symbiosis with nature for millions of years suddenly are not going to be shepherds of that relationship? But no, we know better. We're going to come and meddle in these things. You know, so it reduces farmers' autonomy. It concentrates seed ownership into 4 companies, of which I'm sure Monsanto is one of them. Risks genetic diversity loss. Just like if you do incest in humans, it produces these problems in the offspring. The same happens with seeds. We need biodiversity. It can't just always be about bigger and better crops. It also has to be about the long-term sustainability of our foods. Legal ambiguity around accidental cross-pollination liabilities. I mean, what they do is that they're just looking to be predatory in their litigation against people that grow crops.
Farming is going to be like like this specialized profession. So you cannot farm, you cannot engage in any agricultural activity if you're not registered. That's why they're calling it the Agricultural Professionals Bill. So your grandmother, 86, in the village, cannot plant her cassava. These people forget that a human being and nature are supposed to exist symbiotically. Like, we coexist. So us as nature, we are one. That's why anyone, as learned as you may be, as moneyed as you may be, you won't even have flowers in your house. Okay, you want to plant something. So when we say they are literally criminalizing agriculture, that's what we mean. So like if you do agriculture the normal way we did it, it's actually a criminal offense. And let me also mention, in the Agriculture Professionals Bill, that is actually where we have a fine of $500,000 in that bill. Yes. If you're caught practicing any form of agriculture without being registered, that's where you're getting a fine of $500,000, and we have a jail term of 2 years in that particular bill.
So I hope you see now the connections. So there is a billionaire, and he is connected to a foundation that owns shares in Bayer-Monsanto. And this company can use its media influence, its connections to the IMF and the banking industry to come into African nations and take control of the way agriculture is produced, all for an agenda that profits them massively. It takes away the autonomy of the African to produce the profits for the resources that is native to Africa. The practices and the stuff they do to the agriculture has connections to disease and cancer. Ladies and gentlemen, now you understand why Ibrahim Traoré is not interested in dealing with exterior agricultural influences. He promotes the idea of being self-sufficient. And I, for one, am for this because we don't want to sell cancer and disease to our own. I'm sure you have your comments to make. Please put them in the comment section. But if you do not have anything to write, would it be too much trouble for me to ask that you write the words "No Bill No"? It just lets me know that you like the content, you enjoy what I'm bringing, and you want me to continue. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.